Yep, got it.
All right, so before we go to the most magical bacon land possible, it's the greatest bacon in the entire world. We're gonna see how many times we can say bacon in this very special episode of Bacon. We've gotta go find some office space. We're gonna go look at this space one more time, and we're in downtown, which is a complete departure for us. We've lived in the woods for a long time and kind of been somewhat weird separatist, kind of like your weird uncle that lives by himself in Montana with the beard and the glasses and the hoodie. We're not that anymore, so we have to put on our big boy pants and go live in the city, so that's what we got to do. Everybody, welcome to Inside Craft Show. Today we're talking about the wooden camera unified small cage. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think so.
Wooden camera unified small cage. We bought it, we built it, we put it on. You've seen the time lapse. Here it is here. So I shot with it a little bit last night on a project. I had to shoot some insert pieces, and I shot it last night a little bit. I had it mounted onto the shoulder rig. I'll bring that up in a sec. I like it. It's pretty cool. I like the fact that the handle can move around. There's extra hot shoes up on top. I didn't have a mic on it, but I was able to use the handle on the front side, especially lifting the cage connected to the shoulder rig that we have. It's a red shoulder rig. It normally holds a much heavier camera. It looks kind of silly with this guy, but it did what it needed to do, and it was cool to use the Shogun with it as well. I like the build quality on it. I have a few complaints. I have a few issues. First off, on the GH5, you haven't monkeyed with it as much, but on the GH5 here, the upper cheese plate area, right? It kind of rubs your knob.
That's what she said.
And it does rub this your little gear wheel here a little bit. It's a little bit annoying. Jeff's made it better than I had it built when I did it, so it's not as annoying, but it did do that. It's a very small, compact piece. I do like the fact that it's there.
I do.
On the side,
it's only one-sided. It
is one-sided, which is a little bit of a detractor to me from like the small camera one. Small rig.
Small rig, yeah.
That's it.
It is, but it's not.
It is, but it's not. Right. So let's talk about this side real quick. So you can easy access to everything that you need. It's got your little clampy, a metal one, so it's not plastic, doesn't feel cheap, but you have your nice clamps. You can mount off of it if you need to. There's one big boy hole up top. What is that size called?
It's a 5/8.
There's a 5/8 up top in case you need to mount something heavier, and you can invert the actual rod itself, and you get a 3/8.
Yes.
You get a 3/8 on the bottom and a 5/8 on top. Really cool way of dealing with it, accessory-wise. I think there's only a few 5/8 holes in this
there's
whole
one
thing.
Up here where the handle's coming through.
I think there's one on the top underneath.
I think there is one on the top
hot shoe
underneath
gimmick.
that. And there is on the quick release plate for the shoulder rig, there's one on it, on the left.
So you can build it out. It's pretty usable in that space. Now, compared to the small rig, we've talked about it before, this is amazing to be able to get your hands all over the camera. And again, I was in a dark place. I was filming in a really dark scenario last night, and so seeing the buttons, much less being able to get to them, it was much easier to kind of, you start to memorize where they are. Like you can feel the ISO and white balance. I didn't have to do it once I adjusted, but ISO I was playing with. So it's nice to have full access, whereas the small rig, I've got to like put my finger in it.
Not touching that one.
Yeah, that was
easy.
terrible. But I have to sit there and mess with it a good bit before I can like figure out where it is, and I have to look because it's covering up a majority of this section here.
Yeah, that's my main complaint of the small rig.
And we've complained about it enough. I mean, we showed a piece on it. The other difference is the small rig, you can eventually get the audio hot shoe gimmick on the top, but this one is pre-built for it, just like that. Done. So if you're shooting, you're like, oh, I got to shoot this interview, you're up and running that fast. Which the small rig, it looks like you're going to have to remove a few bolts or nuts or whatever to make it work. There's a top cheese plate. You can kind of see there. There's, again, 5/8. Yeah, there's two 5/8 on top. On the baseline element of it, it's a little top heavy at the moment because the handle's out forward. On the baseline of it, you've got a 2-stage system. Is that what you call it? Or a 2-bracket gimmick. The bottom one's pretty cool. If you're using Manfrotto pieces, you can slide it right off and connect exactly the way you need to, very simply and easily. The bottom base, however, is where I'm really excited because it allows for 15 millimeter rods up front.
Yep.
So we can run rods, run our matte box, run all the ND that we want without using a variable ND, which does cause some potential color shifting. This is just nice, clean, expensive Tiffin glass. We can run rods out the back. We'll mount the battery and hold it that way. What are your thoughts? And I'll get this other thing going.
No, I think you pretty much said it.
From an AC perspective?
Good cambered cage. I'm kind of weary still and can't wait to put it out in the world and use it to see how well this piece does. It's solidly made, the whole cage is, but I'm just worried the more weight we put on it that it might bend since it's not a full cage all the way around the camera.
Right.
But this side makes me extremely happy. The one thing that we did find with this cage system.
Oh yeah, major downfall.
Yeah.
Major
battery.
bummer. The battery is not accessible from this cage system, which is a pretty big, that's a major bummer. So as far as, especially for the price, you're paying $299, I think, for this cage, and you can't even get to your battery to reload it quickly. Not a big fan of that. So that definitely is an advantage for small rig.
Yeah.
So if that's a big deal to you, for us it won't be that big of a deal because we're running a cable system to run off Anton Bauer. So once we plug the power in, we're changing the battery back here. We don't want to touch it, but it is annoying, and I'm frankly a little perturbed that Wooden Camera did not address that, or if they did, they have not shown us how. So in order to get to the battery, you can leave this mounted to your camera, but you're going to have to pull, to your rig, but you're going to have to pull this gimmick off just to get to your battery, pop it in, change it back over, go back to it. So in terms of a quick setup and roll, you're still looking at like 8 to 10 seconds, which sounds like, oh, that's not a big deal.
No, it's a long time.
That's a long time. This is NASCAR time. You should be a pit crew at this point changing this stuff out.
And it's also, if you're using cinema lenses on it, you have a Bartec or a wireless follow focus system on it, then you have the extra time of having to hook that back into it. It's only probably a couple more seconds, but it adds time.
Yeah, if you're shooting dock style or in a hurry, it's not going to work so well. The other thing we wanted to talk about is bringing in something like this. So of course we have our bright tangerine arms, our all-time favorite arms on the planet. You get what you pay for with these. Yeah, they're a little pricey to a lot of people, but they're beefy, robust, they hold up. You can club people with them. If you're ever in a knife fight, it will win the knife fight. It deflects bullets. All of these statements not endorsed by Bright Tangerine, but endorsed by us.
And Superman.
And Superman. The great thing is now suddenly you can take your GH5, mount it onto a very standard shoulder rig, which provides a tremendous amount of stability and use. Get your Shogun wherever you need to put it, and suddenly you can record that way, which I tested this last night and it was phenomenal. Jeff saw some of the footage. It was fantastic. And
very good.
I had no AC, and I was not shooting on this lens. I was shooting on prime lenses.
But this handle also, you can slide in when you're building it and put it into this. So you can have a handle over here on the side instead of on top if you want to.
It's pretty versatile in that space.
The handle is very versatile.
The small rig, the upper cheese plate is not as broad as this one.
It's not.
But where it is broad is it covers here. Yeah. So it's more like armor than this. That's more just like a basic cheese plate rigging system, which is fine too. If you're going to drop your camera, you're going to drop your camera. Nothing you can do about that.